Hi everybody, I am super happy to have you here with me. I'm just hanging out in my bedroom with my dog. He's over here, he's kind of mooning you. That's Dallas. Maybe he'll turn around and stop showing his butthole to the camera. Come here, bud. Come here, bud. Sorry, distracted. I get distracted by the cuteness really easy. I thought that today I could talk about just kind of a silly topic and go over my top 5 witchy movies, and I don't think there's going to be much on this list that people haven't already seen or haven't watched themselves, but I thought it would be fun just to show you what movies I think are witchy, what movies that I really enjoy, and I'm curious to see what your top 5, what your favorite movies are as well. What makes you feel witchy when you watch it? So the first movie is one that I talked about before, and I'm going to leave my favorite witchy movie for last, so I guess we'd call this number 5. So number 5 in my favorite witchy movies is this one, and it's kind of shameful, but Blair Witch Project Part 2, Book of Shadows is definitely one of my favorite witchy movies. It has a little bit of everything. It has that dark and scary horror witch with the Blair Witch, and then we're introduced to this really great Wiccan character. And a lot of people kind of gave her, the character, a lot of flack, said she was like a fluffy bunny, said that she didn't really represent what Wicca, this is her here, what Wicca is all about, and I disagree. I thought her character was great. I thought that her character definitely acted, I'm just looking to see if there's any more pictures of her in here, how a normal witch would act in the situation. I thought it was really cool when she was casting a circle to protect herself, and just different, there's a line from the movie, earth, air, fire, smoke, and then I think she says goddess or something, I invoke, and I absolutely love that, and I use that in my own practice today. So I definitely found this movie to be inspiring a little bit. I was really young when this came out in 2000, so I would have been about almost 14, so very impressionable age, and Erica, the name of the character, really inspired me and made me want to be even more witchy because I thought that she was so cool. So, and there's another character in this movie called Kim, who is the goth girl, and I adore her, and the movie is just, it's kitschy, it's silly, it's not scary, but it's a fun movie, and it definitely, that character, I think, makes me feel witchy. I love Erica in this movie. So if you've seen it, what do you think? What are your opinions on the Blair Witch 2? I know it doesn't always get a lot of love, but honestly, I think that it's fabulous. I think it's a really fun movie. And I love the Wiccan character that's in this movie, Erica. I think that she's fabulous and she's beautiful, and I really felt like they didn't overdo it, and I don't think that they made, some people said that they made her seem too fluffy, or they made her seem too kitschy or whatever, but I didn't get that vibe at all from it. I really thought that she was pretty authentic, and I adored her. So this is my number 5. It's definitely one of my favorite witchy movies. So number 4 is, of course, this classic, Practical Magic. Who doesn't love this movie? I mean, it's romantic, it's a little bit spooky. The exorcism scene is definitely, I got a little something on Nicole's nose here. I shouldn't be using my movie cases as coasters. What's wrong with me? But I love the scene where she gets a little bit possessed and all the women come together and they use their brooms, and I love the tagline, there's a witch in every woman, because I totally agree with that. I think that's so true. The book is amazing. Aunt Jet, I mean, come on. Everybody in the movie, like the sisters, the Owing sisters, I can't talk, I'm all excited. The aunts, the sisters, everything about this movie is awesome. It definitely was part of that big 90s kind of resurgence with witchcraft, and kind of in the movies, I was very young at this time and a very impressionable age. It was kind of the perfect age to be at. I can remember going to sleepovers and watching these movies and kind of talking about being witches, and a lot of the other girls, I don't think, kept it up or stayed serious with it, but I really meant it when I said that I wanted to learn more about witchcraft and I wanted to be a witch. And I can remember sleepovers where we would watch these movies, and it was just so much fun, and yeah, this movie definitely makes me feel witchy. It's not one of my favorite movies. I love the book a lot more. I love the second book as well. So it's not my top one. It's why it's number 4. But it's definitely a good one. It's a classic. So if you haven't seen Practical Magic, which I find very hard to believe, definitely check it out because it is a witchy good time. This movie is number 3. And it's the Witches of Eastwick. And I've just noticed that Warner Brothers put out a lot of witchy movies. But anyway, Warner Brothers always had these weird DVD cases too that weren't like the other DVD cases. They were these weird snappy ones that always drove me crazy. My several copies of The Exorcist, which definitely don't apply to this video, are all like this, and it used to drive me crazy because it wasn't like the rest of my DVDs that I had collected back in the day. But anyways, number 3 is The Witches of Eastwick. I love this movie. I love this book. I love everything about it. I think it's funny. I think that it's just delightful. It really is. It's a delightful movie. Jack Nicholson is amazing in it. Cher, the goddess that she is, I mean, I love her. Michelle Pfeiffer, I mean, Susan Sarandon. Can you get a stronger cast than that? I love these women in this. I love the story in this. I love when they are making the poppet, when they're going to invoke the man that they want, and they're kind of arguing about his penis size. I think that that's really funny. And I love that the man that they ended up invoking and creating was this devilish Jack Nicholson kind of character. Of course, Jack Nicholson is one of my favorite actors. I haven't seen him in anything that I didn't love him in. I love how he plays a crazy person. I think he really is crazy. I think that adds to his awesomeness. I know Stephen King hated that in The Shining and the way that he played that off, but I think that's just Jack Nicholson, and I think he's wonderful, and I absolutely loved him in this. I love when the cherries start coming out of that bitch church lady's mouth, and just all the crazy stuff that happens. The pool scene where they're on the pool, and the parties that they're having at the Jack Nicholson character's house. I can't remember. Well, they call him Old Scratch on the back of this, but I can't remember the name of Jack Nicholson's character. But anyways, when they're at his house, and it's all these weird experiences that are going on, and the little goddess figurines that Cher's character made. I mean, there's a lot of, even though this is obviously a very like Hollywood, not Wiccan at all, there's still some hints of goddess throughout this movie, and some of the magic that they do is definitely magic that we could do in our own practices. Probably not to the same effects, but I definitely think that this is a great witchy movie, and especially if you want to have a little girls' night, or you just want to kind of go back to the 90s and just kind of enjoy this. It's definitely a really good time. So I have The Witches of Eastwick as number 3. So number 2, of course, shouldn't be any surprise. I have the Craft score playing in the background. This is one of my all-time favorite witchy movies, and I think it's the case for a lot of people. I think that everybody has watched this movie. It's kind of a rite of passage, especially if you're a girl. This movie was a big hit at sleepovers growing up. I can remember us watching this. I can remember us playing Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board. I have a memory of it actually working, and I don't know now if it was a dream that I had later that night, but I do remember us all sitting around a girl and us lifting her up, and she did weigh nothing. It was a really cool experience. So we used to watch this and have all kinds of witchy fun, and we used to pretend to be the girls. I always wanted to be Nancy because I have a little bit of a dark flair, and I totally connected with Nancy. And then when I later learned that Fairuza, who is completely underrated and should be in every movie because, I mean, she is the best. One of my favorite actresses in the whole wide world is Pagan herself, so she really played that with an authentic kind of tone, and I loved it. I loved the spells, I loved the way it was filmed, I loved that they had a real witch on set to kind of make it more authentic. I loved that the areas of the movie where they definitely had the CGI and it was definitely Hollywood, they still weren't over the top, really. Like, a lot of it, you could imagine that you could do those spells, like that glamour that Sarah does, you know, when she takes her hair and gives it a shake and all of that. Like, glamours, I know that they don't work like that, but they do have that effect where you do feel like you're a new person and you feel fresh-faced. And so I thought that was really cool. I love the scenes with all the snakes and all the bugs, and being a complete nerd, I learned that they were all real, which I love. It's just a really, really cool movie, and it's got a good lesson too about how when you mess with magic, sometimes it comes back to bite you, like when they do the love spell. So I think it has a good message in it that magic is something that is very powerful, and that not to mess with it unless you know what you're doing, and to respect nature and respect the laws of nature. So this is definitely my number 2. I absolutely love The Craft, and I think that everyone's probably watched it by now, but it's a classic for a reason, and it's on a lot of lists for a reason. It just, the girls that they have in the movie, all 4 of them are fantastic. It was just a perfect movie. So it definitely, growing up, it influenced my path. It influenced me being a witch for sure. It was kind of when I saw this, I was like, okay, I need to learn more about this witchcraft thing. And that's kind of when it turned to something more serious. So I was definitely inspired by The Craft, and I absolutely adore that movie. Last but not least, and Deli was sleeping on it. Sorry, buddy, but you can't use it as a pillow. This movie is probably on a lot of lists, but maybe not all of the list. I'm hoping that maybe I can be slightly original, and it's The Wicker Man. This is my favorite witchy kind of pagan movie. And it's not that it's super witchy, because it's more about a pagan stance, but I think that it represents old school paganism in a pretty good light. You know, I know that they're the bad guys, but I really think that the way that they talk in the movie, the lines that they have, Lord Summerisle, I mean, Christopher Lee is a god in himself. I thought he was amazing in this. I thought that everything just seemed very authentic, and I really believe that if you were to move to a little island that was still pagan, a lot of what is shown in this movie really would be happening, other than maybe the burning of the actual Wicker Man. But I do definitely think that this movie is probably one of the most accurate portrayals of pagans, and I just love it. I love every bit of it. I love Brett Eklund. She's gorgeous. She plays the Willow character that does like the little nude dance. I love her. Christopher Lee, of course, he's just amazing. The score in this movie is also really awesome. The music in it, the songs are really, really cool. Just the scene, the Wicker Man scene, I mean, holy shit. Yeah, this is definitely Edward Woodward getting burnt, and the way he plays this really Christian character, and you can kind of see in the movie, like, it does not paint these pagans as really bad people. It doesn't say that, like, that they're horrible. It's kind of his opinions of them, and yes, they were luring him there, but I've always kind of rooted for the bad guy. But I definitely think this is a fun movie, and I think that it's worth watching, and I think it's worth exploring if you're interested in watching more movies that are kind of have a pagan theme or are a little bit magical. I think you should definitely put The Wicker Man on your list. Of course, I am talking about the original from the 70s. I'm just looking to see if it says on here when it came out. I want to say it was 78 or 79, but I could be wrong. It could be older than that. Do not watch the Nicolas Cage version. It does nothing for it. The only good part of it is Ellen Bernstein, because she's a total goddess. But this is a movie that you want to watch, in my opinion. If you want to, especially at Beltane, it's a perfect Beltane movie. So I highly, highly recommend The Wicker Man. Love this movie. And then I just had 2 honorable mentions, which is The Love Witch, which is a movie that came out recently. I think it came out in 2016, and it's about this woman that moves, I think, to LA, and she uses her witchcraft to cast spells on men and seduce them. And it's actually a really cool, empowering little film, and it just kind of has girl power all over it. I love it. It's filmed like it's an old 70s kind of pulp movie, and it's so cool. So if you can find it online or you can find it out and about, I definitely recommend to you checking out The Love Witch. And my other honorable mention, of course, is Hocus Pocus. And I have a copy of Hocus Pocus, but it seems to be missing in my house. Who knows? We had a Hocus Pocus drinking party last Halloween, and who knows what happened to my copy. But it's here somewhere. But I mean, everyone likes Hocus Pocus. I don't think I need to really go into how awesome Hocus Pocus is, but just another movie that when I was growing up, it was kind of really, really popular, and the characters in it were awesome. My favorite was always Sarah. Was that the name of her character though? Sarah Jessica Parker's character. Anyway, I can't remember. If you remember, maybe comment below what her character's name was, because I can't remember. But she was always my favorite, and I love that movie too. So if you're looking for a little bit of film inspiration or something that you would like to watch that's a little bit witchy, I would highly recommend any of those 5 films, plus those 2 honorable mentions. And I think that you will definitely finish watching them feeling like a magical, powerful being that you are. So thanks for sitting with me. Thanks for listening to me go on about some of my favorite movies. If this is something you like, let me know. And also, if there's anything that you want to see in a video from me, if there's anything you want me to talk about or anything at all, just please let me know. Please comment or subscribe, and I would be happy to share more of my path with you. So thanks for sitting with me, and I hope that I've inspired you to find something witchy to watch this weekend. Bye!